My friend once dated a guy who was a master of promises. He could spin a commitment out of thin air, with a smile that made you want to believe every word. He was like a politician running for best boyfriend ever, always campaigning with grand gestures and even grander words. He promised her the world, the moon, and most importantly, a shelf. A simple thing, but it meant everything in that moment. She had this beautiful, slightly too large plant that needed a home on the wall. It was the kind of plant that deserved to be showcased, not left on the floor like an afterthought. "I'll build you a shelf this weekend," he declared, brimming with confidence, as if he'd already measured the wall and picked out the perfect wood. The weekend came and went, no shelf. The plant stayed put and the wall remained empty as if nothing had ever been promised. Next weekend, still no shelf. "I just need to find the right wood," he'd say, as if the perfect plank was hidden in a secret forest only he could access. It became a running joke, the shelf promise, a symbol of all his grand, empty statements. They'd laugh about it, but the laughter was tinged with a hint of resignation. He'd talk about trips to Italy, fancy dinners, organizing his sock drawer, always painting a future full of possibilities, but never quite getting there. None of it ever happened. The plans stayed plans, and the promises faded into the background noise of daily life. The plant stayed on the floor, looking more disappointed each week, as if it too was waiting for someone to finally follow through. It was funny, but also not. Words flowed like a river, but actions were stuck in a drought. The gap between intention and reality grew wider with every unfulfilled promise. Maybe it wasn't a shelf for you. Maybe it was a promise to call more, help with chores, or just show up when it mattered most. Or finally watch that show you love, the one you've been talking about for months, hoping they'd join you. We've all been on one side of that equation, making the promise or waiting for it to be fulfilled, wondering if this time will be different. The shelf was never really about the shelf. It was about reliability, about showing up in small ways that add up to something bigger. It was about seeing a small need and meeting it, proving that you're paying attention and that you care enough to act. When someone says, "I'll do this for you," what you hear is, "You matter to me." It's a promise that goes beyond the task itself. When the action doesn't follow, the message changes. Suddenly, it feels like your needs are a suggestion, not a priority, and that stings in ways words can't fix. That's how a simple piece of wood becomes a heavy symbol of a bigger problem, a silent reminder of all the things left undone. In relationships, words paint a picture, but actions fill it in. Without follow-through, the masterpiece remains unfinished, just a sketch of what could be. If the picture stays a sketch, you start to question the artist. Doubt creeps in, and you wonder if the vision will ever become reality. The real issue isn't the shelf. It's the gap between what's said and what's done. That space is where disappointment grows. And that gap? It's where trust starts to crack, quietly at first, then all at once, until even the smallest promises feel too heavy to hold. Now let's move from furniture to feelings, the "I'll change, I swear" symphony. This is the part of the relationship where words become music, and every promise sounds like a hopeful new melody. We've all heard it. After a big argument, the promises come pouring in. "I'll be more considerate. I'll do better, I promise. I'll stop being so messy. I'll communicate better." The words are sincere, and in that moment, you want to believe them with your whole heart. For a moment, you want to believe it. Your heart swells with hope, imagining a future where things are finally different. For a few days, things seem different. They're extra nice, they listen, they pick up their socks. You notice the little changes, and it feels like maybe, just maybe, this time will be different. It feels like a trailer for a new, improved relationship. There's laughter, teamwork, and a sense of possibility in the air. But slowly, the old patterns creep back in. The little things that once changed start to slip. The socks reappear on the floor. The listening fades. The effort that felt so real starts to vanish, almost unnoticed at first. The grand promises dissolve into background noise, blending into the everyday hum of life. It's a frustrating cycle. Hope, disappointment, repeat. You start to wonder if things will ever really change. Trust doesn't break with a bang. but with a quiet, persistent drip. It's the slow erosion that hurts the most. Each broken promise is another drop, wearing away at your faith. Over time, the cracks start to show. It's not always malice. Sometimes words and actions are just in different shows. People mean well, but habits are hard to break. You're left in the audience trying to figure out which performance is real. Is this the real change or just another act? It's confusing, exhausting, and makes you question everything. The emotional roller coaster leaves you feeling worn out. The I'll Change symphony is beautiful, but if it's all sound and no substance, it's just noise. Promises without action are empty tunes. Real change isn't a speech, it's a pattern. It's the small, consistent actions that build trust again, day by day. If the music fades and nothing's different, you're left dancing alone. The silence can be lonelier than any argument. The lesson? Don't just listen for the promises, watch for the follow-through. Actions are the true language of change, because in the end, actions are the only encore that matters. They're the proof that the music wasn't just for show. And if the curtain keeps falling on the same old act, it's time to rethink the show, because you deserve a performance that's real. Why do people make promises they can't keep? Are they all master manipulators? Not usually. Most of the time, it's about conflict avoidance. People hate confrontation, so they say yes to end the moment, not because they mean it. In the heat of an argument, "You're right, I'll change," is a magic phrase to diffuse tension. The intention is often genuine. They want to be better, but the follow-through is hard. Sometimes it's pure optimism. They believe they'll build that shelf or change that habit, but reality gets in the way. They aren't lying to you, they're lying to themselves. And sometimes, they just want to make you happy, even if it means overpromising. They'd rather risk disappointing you later than say no now. But the disappointment from a broken promise is always worse than an honest no. Good intentions don't build shelves, actions do. And when words outpace reality, trust is what gets left behind. In every relationship, there are two languages, words and actions. Words are easy. They're the soundtrack, the poetry, the promises. Actions are the proof. They cost time, effort, and energy. Bringing you coffee, listening when you vent, showing up when it matters. Those are actions. The problem? When words and actions don't match. If someone says, "You're my priority," but always cancels plans, their actions say otherwise. Trust is built in the language of action. Words lay the foundation, but only actions build the house. You can say you're supportive, but you prove it by showing up. When words and actions are in harmony, you get a beautiful duet. When they clash, it's just noise. In the end, our hearts believe actions over words. So listen to what's said, but believe what's done. That's the real language of love. Let's look at the supportive partner, the one who's amazing with words, always knowing just what to say, but somehow when it really counts, they're missing in action. Their support sounds perfect on paper, but in real life it's a different story. You have a big day ahead. They text, "You'll crush it, I'm so proud of you." And for a moment you feel on top of the world. Their words lift you up, and you start to believe in yourself a little more. But when you call to share your success, their reaction is lukewarm. Distracted, half listening, maybe even multitasking. You can hear it in their voice. They're not really present. There's no celebration, no real engagement. The hype vanishes as quickly as it arrived, leaving you feeling oddly empty. Or when you're struggling, they say, "I'm here for you, whatever you need." The words are comforting and you want to believe them. But when you actually need help, maybe it's dinner, company, or just a hand with errands, they're suddenly busy, unavailable, or full of excuses. The promises don't match the reality. The support was theoretical, not practical. It existed only in messages, not in moments that mattered. This mismatch is tricky because the words are so positive, you almost feel guilty for feeling let down. You wonder if you're asking for too much or being ungrateful. But support isn't just a noun, it's a verb. It's something you do, not just something you say. It's showing up, being present, making burdens lighter through action. It's about being there in the moments that count, not just sending a text from afar. A text is nice, but a hug and a hot meal when you're down, that's real support. That's what makes you feel truly cared for. The difference is night and day. One is easy, the other takes effort and intention. Words can comfort, but actions heal. Actions are what build trust and connection over time. If you feel alone despite all the "I'm here for you" talk, trust your gut. Your feelings are valid and you deserve more. True support is felt, not just heard. It's something you experience, not just read about. The language of action is what counts. It's what makes relationships strong and lasting. Don't settle for a hype man who disappears when it matters. You deserve someone who's there in the tough times, not just the easy ones. Look for the partner who shows up, not just talks up. Presence is the real proof of care, because in the end, presence beats promises every time. Actions speak louder than any words ever could. That's the support that lasts. That's the kind that helps you grow together. And that's the kind you deserve. Real, reliable, and present every single day. How do you spot the gap between words and actions? Look for patterns of broken promises, not just one-off mistakes, but a habit. Apologies that aren't followed by change. Red flag. Grand future plans with no present-day effort. Another warning sign, defensiveness when you point out inconsistencies. That's telling too. Actions in the present predict the future better than any promise. If the pattern is all talk, no follow-through, you've found your answer. Let's talk about the active listening gap. You share something important. They nod, say, look engaged. But later, when you bring it up again, it's like they've never heard it. The nodding was just a performance. This isn't about forgetting small details. It's about showing your words matter. When someone remembers, it says, "What you said mattered to me." When they forget, it feels like rejection. True listening is remembering, not just nodding. It's the difference between "I care" and actually proving it. One is a sentiment, the other is an act of love. If you feel unseen, it's not in your head. Real listening is action, not just appearance. You've spotted the gap. Now what? Don't jump to accusations. Start a calm conversation. Use I statements. I feel hurt when promises aren't kept. Be specific. Last week you said you'd do the dishes, but it didn't happen. Avoid listing every past failure. Focus on the pattern. Ask questions. Is something making it hard to follow through? Listen to their side. Maybe there's more going on. Approach with curiosity, not just criticism. The goal is teamwork, not blame. Turn you versus me into us versus the problem. If your partner acknowledges the gap, it's time to rebuild trust, slowly, with small, consistent actions. Set achievable promises. I'll take out the trash every Tuesday. Use reminders or weekly check-ins to help. This isn't micromanaging. It's building a system for reliability. The person let down needs patience, but also standards. Give your partner space to prove themselves. Celebrate small victories. Rebuilding trust takes effort from both sides. It's about direction, not perfection. Like building a real shelf, both people have to hold it steady. In the end, we want harmony. A duet of words and actions. Not perfection, but a partner who tries, owns mistakes, and works to do better. Trust is the currency of a relationship. Invest in it daily. Listen to the words, but watch the actions. Look for the partner who shows up with the wood and tools, not just the promise. Be that person too. Let your yes mean yes. Build on what you do, not just what you say. Create a symphony where words and actions are in tune. Love that's shown lasts longer than love that's just spoken. That's a truth you can build a life on. No shelf required. In the end, it's not about grand gestures. It's about everyday reliability. That's the duet that makes love real, and if this hits home, drop a comment. I want to hear from you. Give me a like. Let me know in the comments a topic you want to hear. Subscribe and tell a friend. Let's build this community of priority mindsetters.